We are very used to seeing like the regular funnel, right? But in the middle of the funnel, a lot happens, and that's the messy middle. So one of the items is we can't deny that AI has made things faster, right? How can we help actually people develop the right set of tools and knowledge in order to be prepared for whatever is coming?
Really, it's about what we're seeing. It's not really whether it's going to be called Web 3.0 or it's exactly blockchain, but it's about automation, personalization, and truly, I believe, the blurring of social and retail experiences. And you call it social commerce, but I think I want to be careful with that because people just think social media.
So right now we have on a monthly basis 1.1 million mom and pop shops. It's all about building relationships with the local teams, and them also seeing us as a team that will help them to the next level, whatever their issue is, or if they need someone to just, I don't understand this, or this is not working, or why is this not going as fast as I thought? Like they can come to us as well, because digital can be very frustrating,
And it's not only digital tech stack or renovating the frameworks. It's also a lot of change management involving human element.
Exactly. And then I tell them like we are evangelizing the company, right? And like different ways of doing business. So they're the ones locally trying to do that. And so how do I give them the right tools for them to actually go and tell the story locally, right? To salespeople that have been selling the product for 20 years in a certain way, or our client, and they're the most important. How do we make sure our clients understand what we're trying to do now? Our clients' day-to-day issues by making their lives easier. How are we going to do that? Well, we have an app, we have a website, we have a WhatsApp that can help them make an order anytime, anywhere, which is better than just waiting for the Wednesday that the salesperson is going to come in. And then they're busy helping someone else in the store and just, order whatever you can see in the fridge that is missing. And, and that way it's going to be easier for our clients when they're making an order. It's going to be easier for them to understand what challenges they have as well. So we can now tell them, listen, this is the type of products that you should have in your store. You're close to making 100% of those buy-ins. You're going to make so many points, and that's going to help you in X, Y, and Z, right, in return. And so there's like now a journey that they can see through. We are very used to seeing like the regular funnel, right? But in the middle of the funnel, a lot happens, and that's the messy middle. So the client may decide or add to the shopping cart and then get off or forget. They're busy with their own clients in the store. Or, oh no, maybe I saw a different promotion somewhere else. Or maybe, no, now I don't need this, I need that. Like there's a lot of touch points. There's a lot going on in that middle. And you're not in front of the client. The technology is, and his behavior and what's going on with him right there and then. And so what do you do in order to help him or her go from A to Z and close that whole funnel or that whole journey, which ends up with a sale and then us delivering the product? And so what we've said is, how are we going to help? And what do we need? That marketing layer, what is the marketing layer that we need in order to make sure that our client actually walks through the journey and it doesn't become very difficult for us? Because the hypothesis is digital will help us be leaner, right, in our journey.
And you will have the clarity, you will have the 360 view, but the middle prevents doing all that in a quick shot like that.
We know that others nearby are buying X, Y, and Z. So why isn't this other client buying X, Y, and Z if he's right next door? That kind of thing is what we're focusing on. So marketing layer, having the right client view. And then the third pillar that we're working on is data-informed decision. We need to have more near real-time information, like more information that we can grasp I'm calling it near real time because I mean, real time, there's so many data points. Exactly. But near real time is good enough for us in order to understand their client and be able to get good insights, effective insights that will help us communicate with our client. So from a marketing standpoint is a marketing layer that can help us communicate, and then data informed decisions with, of course, a clear view of our client. So one of the items is we can't deny that AI has made things faster, right?
Yeah.
How fast? We don't know. You can go as dark as you want, or you can be as positive as you want. What I would say, and again, focusing, if anything I've learned in the past few years throughout this journey is people. And so again, we need to focus on what we can control. And one of the items that I think we can control from an organization standpoint and from a leadership role is people somehow. So how can we help actually people develop the right set of tools and knowledge in order to be prepared for whatever's coming, right?
Okay.
So we're promoting a lot, like we got to use whatever AI tools we have that are, company approved, etc. We have to learn about everything that is coming from a digital standpoint. I have seen an acceleration uptick in my experience based on what I used to see in my old life. So I would assume that it will accelerate. It is accelerating. I mean, what is happening now, it is in every standpoint, even on how you create a CV, even on how you do interviews, even on what kind of questions you're asking, when you're hiring someone new. Even the workforce is expecting something different, and they're more upfront on what they expect from a company or an organization where they're going to work, right? So I think there there is an acceleration, and it will come even faster. But what I would like to end with is the people and how we will accommodate to that, right? So when the internet started, it was also, oh my God, the internet, and here we are, and you've seen it, you've even written about it. I mean, the offline and the online still coexist, and we live in a world where I would like to think, maybe from an e-commerce standpoint, that we both enable both channels to grow. Like, I don't think we fight one towards the other or something like that, or compete. What it happens is one helps the other. I mean, we are now in an offline, online world, and it only helps brands position and grow and, sell more at the end of the day. So what I would love to see is actually people embrace everything that is coming and be ready for everything else that will come.
What I like to do in my organization is called Purposeful Planning. So if we can get ahead of events, seasonal opportunities, we really can align to success, whether it's on retail media or content processes. And that's the things I'm trying to do is how do we get ahead? How do we plan purposefully to get ahead and connect those parts of the business? So these are the things that I'm looking at. Our digital shelf, right? For example, how do we shift into more shopper demand moments? We have these things called demand moments in the organization. We want to shift into how we cater to those demand moments and really go beyond measuring our shelf in a way that's checking the box of content kind of guidelines and adherence to content effectiveness within the organization. And measurement will become more and more of a piece, right? So the digital maturity, the data maturity at Rustover is not quite the same as maybe at Mars or Coca-Cola, but I'm going to work with that background and knowledge to integrate it, to understand the ROI, to understand the sales measurement and performance. And we're finding tools and partners to help us do that.
I like the purposeful planning part because from 270 degrees view ahead of us in the digital commerce acceleration, there is trends, there's opportunities, there's always a new hot topic to catch up always. And sometimes it's really hard to focus and purposefully select what area, what tactics you want to implement. And I like a couple of the terms they use over there. Number one, kudos for having a 1P and 3P business on Amazon for a very mature and saturated competitive category like food and beverage / chocolate. I've worked in other chocolate brands in the past. It's very demanding to have 3P. So kudos on that. In addition to those, marketplace and DC, you also mentioned, which means the omni-channel strategy, very seamless, integrated cross-channel strategy. But again, since I know your granularity when it comes to analytics and measurement, I'm sure you're going to find out a couple of new levers and implement it into your organization with the objectives ahead.
Back in 2019, when I was at Coca-Cola, we ran a marketing mix model on Amazon. It was actually modeled out to be on total brand sales, right? So I've been able to see how the ROI of those models may not be always traditional to what we see from other marketing mix models. And that kind of battle of retail media, finding value in the organization and that proof of the value or ROI it can have for a business. So for example, on the Amazon mix model, we ran it right to total brand sales, but we actually didn't see an ROI. The value really is an infinite loop versus a funnel view. While upper funnel seems to work more as a brand side of view and lower is more of a sales tactic, right? We have to work in the middle of conversion or sales outcomes. And that's interesting, right? But still does not negate like having clear benchmarks across the campaign. And sometimes the media that's included within that campaign from the media network perspective can actually have competing goals or inconsistent benchmarks that need to be there. So a lot of times I've seen them being benchmarks similarly across the board. So whether I'm running a connected TV ad through retail media, or I'm running a display banner on site. And they really can't have the same benchmarks, just like you wouldn't do branded search together, right? That will mitigate and influence the value of your ROAS. So we're seeing similar things where we're trying to bring together tactics that were traditionally maybe always sold as by itself as a channel. So just connected TV as a channel in digital marketing versus combining multiple channels within a channel or within a network in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they have different goals and outcomes. The biggest thing I've seen is where omni-channel attribution and value to the offsite tactics can look very, very ideal or good to the retailer. But that's because we don't have the right benchmarks behind it, right? So how do we relook at ROAS? How do we look at incremental ROI? And I think incrementality is actually a big unifying metric to have across the media mix. The ROI sometimes can get lost. So we really have to find that balance. But I also want to stop seeing like attribution to high reach, high impression media, retail media networks being that, oh, you achieved your ROAS goals because why? I had more eyeballs to attribute a sales to. And that's what I keep seeing in these plans. So again, those eyeballs have a different value in my equation.
Actually, this is super important when you mention the granularity and the measurement capability across tactics rather than brand level, because this is where the magic happens, if I may. But this requires, I think, a lot of data analytics capability and also the granularity across the platforms you're measuring campaigns, because sometimes there is no single platform. You can have 360 visibility. You're working with the agency partner, you're getting data from the retailers. This requires a lot of engine power under the hood. But I like the drill up, drill out capability from brand to technical level and back to brand. I'll do something similar. Let's drill up to the trend level now.
And I think it really hurt especially what Web 3.0 can really become, and it actually is still happening today. And so I really see that we're seeing this apps change, not just about gaming, but how we're looking at digital identification and loyalty use cases and shifting online shopping in particular to personalized, fully integrated shopping experiences. So I see social really being integrated to change what I like to call horizontal shopping into more integrated shopping, and how AI trends we're seeing is being part of that evolution. So we're seeing some of the aggregation of reviews, search results really being part of that evolution. These are all powered by what the components are of blockchain and Web 3.0. And I don't think people realize it because the hype beyond it has subsided. So I like to think about trends in a circular 5-year view. So again, everyone's, what do we do in the next 5 years? Things circulate back and forth in terms of trends and what they mean and how they come to life. And some of these trends, like unified commerce, is something I talked about that I'm activating within my organization today. But this is a circular trend that I've seen over the last 5 to 6 years, right? It's just the difference between pre and post COVID and the organization in terms of how you cycle through and what that means to be unified. In 2019, it was unification of brand and sales teams together on content, not retail media. It was how do you also unify the sales organization to understand that shopper and sales opportunity have value for the organization. A lot of conversation about incrementality 5 years ago, but that conversation comes back again, depending on what the tactic is. So for retail media, we were just talking about incrementality. That's the new incrementality value question. I'm investing here in retail media. So what is that value back to me in this organization? So digital penetration might have been hit, but now we have to get to that other incremental value for the organization. So these cycles come and go into different things. We talked about Web 3.0 and blockchain and AI, right? And these trends exist, but really it's about what we're seeing. It's not really whether it's going to be called Web 3.0 or it's exactly blockchain, but it's about automation, personalization, and truly, I believe, the blurring of social and retail experiences. So I've been watching TikTok shops very closely. Whether they'll exist in the US in a year, who knows? But I think at the end of the day, it's like that trend where social, and they call it social commerce, but I think I want to be careful with that because people just think social media. It's really social shopping. It's just shopping, right? Integrated with those two experiences. And whether TikTok owns that or not, or Amazon finally finds its way to integrate it through technology, probably through AI, that will come and go.
This episode is brought to you by Commerce Media Summit, a key event that will unite brands, agencies, and platforms to shape the future of commerce media for 2026.
Excited to meet us at industry events next year? Scan the QR code to view the full event calendar kit.